if you want to perfect your 1/4" seam on your Bernina 560 sewing machine, let me show you a couple things that will work. So first off, there are 3 1/4" feet. Now, if you've owned a Bernina in the past, you might have already owned a 37 Patrick foot or maybe a 57 Patrick foot. The difference is that this 57 has a guide to really keep your fabric nicely hugged underneath your foot. So these feet are wonderful because there's markings in every which direction. So a 1/4" in front of the needle, a 1/4" behind the needle if you needed to kind of stop before you got to the end for setting in blocks or inset seams. And then also from the inside of this toe to the needle position is an 1/8 of an inch. So you have 1/8 of an inch markings, 1/4 of the inch markings, and then 1/4" all the way around. This is a great one. People kind of talk about this guide almost being like training wheels. Great for kids if they're learning how to keep their fabric nice and even for accurate seams. The other tool that I use, and there's still one more foot I want to show you, but one of the other things to use is a straight stitch throat plate because it just keeps your needle going perfectly straight up and down. Now that doesn't make sense, so why wouldn't it? But when you have a throat plate with that 9mm opening left to right, sometimes when you hit all those seam allowances, that needle will deflect just a little bit to the left or right as it's trying to get through it. With a single needle throat plate, it will stabilize that needle and keep it going perfectly up and down with no variation. Now, if you are going to put this plate on, you do have a feature in the information area to secure your machine of the throat plate here and go 0mm so you don't accidentally pick a zigzag or try to move your needle position. It won't let you do it. Also too, when you put this on, you'll usually turn your machine off when you're done at the end of the day, and you'll turn it on tomorrow, and again, this will come up pre-locked so you don't accidentally break a needle when you pick a decorative stitch. So anytime you use this, though optional, I highly recommend it for like free motion quilting, straight stitch, or piecing, like what we're talking about. Okay, so let me turn this off because otherwise it won't let me do anything else. There we go. Straight stitch throat plate for the win. One of these feet is good if you've already purchased them. But if you're a brand new Bernina owner, I want you to purchase the number 97 foot. So it's still a 1/4" foot, but I'm going to compare these 2 feet. So this is the original 1/4" foot, and this is the 97. So it still measures a 1/4" from needle to the right, which is where your seam allowance is. Still has all those 1/4" markings left, right, and so forth. But you'll notice that it has got a bigger base to the other side. And because you have wider feed dogs, this foot will keep more surface area of your presser foot on your fabric for better feeding. Now, you're looking at it and saying, but where is the guide? So the guide would be actually attached. Let me move this off. Still love the straight stitch throat plate, but here's a little tip. When you use a straight stitch throat plate, you limit the width. Even if you're not, but you're putting this foot on, why not turn on that security area? Just pretend you have, and guess what? That way you don't accidentally pick a zigzag and break your needle as it goes to the right or left of this presser foot. So there's another great tip for you. Okay, so the guide comes as another piece. Have you noticed the little screws right here in your in the machine? Here we go. As you can see, those little holes. By the way, those are not oil holes. Please don't put oil in them. That's an old machine trick. If there were holes, we used to put oil in them. No, not these. All right, it comes with 3 pieces: a guide, a screw, and a screwdriver. So this little screwdriver is in with the package. And what you do is, let me get that started. As you get this going, you can even put the presser foot down, and then you put the guide hugging up against the foot. So you can have it with or without the guide, which is nice because there's times where sometimes I don't want the guide, but I can follow my own directions. But for the rest of the time, when I want to go ahead and sew nice and even, see how that nice little wall keeps my fabric going nice and straight. So those are some options for you that will really help. But let me show you one more thing. I know, one more thing, because this machine's pretty awesome. I'm going to zoom you in, and we're going to look right here on the throat plate. Right in front of where the feed dogs are, there is a single short line on your stitch plate. That line is a 1/4 inch from your needle. And I have been known to get a perfect 1/4 inch seam if I run my fabric so I can see that line. So if I'm just to the side of that line, it's almost like I get a scant 1/4 inch. And because I can see it. So sometimes I like to be able, I don't use the guide, but that's just me. You have to find what works for you. If just having that guide and making it nice so it doesn't actually let your fabric go through, that is awesome. But having that little line to follow, and again, as long as you put your fabric on the left side of the line, you can see it, you will get that perfect scant 1/4 inch. Scant 1/4 inch means that you have enough fabric to fold over when you're pressing it open, and then it is measures your block to the right size when you're finally done. And that's really what we're after, is getting those block sizes to be the 12.5 inches or the 6.5 inches that the pattern says they should be after putting all the pieces together. So give one of these feet a try and see which one works for you.